Hey everyone, welcome in to another daily editorial here on the KE Report. And in this daily editorial, I am introducing a new company to all of you, our listeners, and a relatively new company to the markets in general. I know a number of you already follow along with this story. I believe that's because Quentin Henney is an advisor of the company. The company is Tombill Mines, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol TBLL. I am chatting with the CEO and chairman, Adam Horn. Now, Adam, let's start off with the main asset here in the company. It's titled the Tombill Main Group. Now, this is in the Geraldton camp in Northern Ontario, right on trend and right beside that Hardrock deposit that I know is well known to a lot of our listeners and anyone who follows the mining sector. Let's start off with the location here, because that really is critical for this company. Take us through, again, the relationship and location to Hardrock and how that's driving some of the work that you guys are planning.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, Corey, for having me on your podcast. Yeah, the location's great from two perspectives, from a geology and from an infrastructure. On the geology side, we are down plunge from the Hardrock project, which has currently resourced about 5.5 million ounces of proven and probable in an open pit structure, which spans from about 2.3 to 4.3 kilometers from our shared border. And as you go westward and go underground, they have measured and indicated and inferred about 5.5 million ounces. Which continues from the open pit, and that gets the grades increase quite a bit. On their western hole, they had a very quite important hole, which is about 100 meters from our shared border, which is MM170, and that was 18.5 grams per ton over 20 meters. So our natural inclination was that was going to that whole zone, starting from the open pit and continuing through MM170, was going to plunge onto our property. So we see that whole down plunging continuing onto the Tombill Main Group property. With regards to infrastructure, we are about 250 kilometers from Thunder Bay on Highway 11, Trans-Canada Highway, and in fact, that goes right through the middle of our property, which we are surrounded 360 degrees by greenstone, of which the Hardrock project is their largest wholly owned subsidiary, which I discussed earlier, is to the east of us. And then we have a town of about 4,000 inhabitants. We're very pro the mining industry expanding in this area. We have airports, and we have airports, and even there's a golf course right on we own part on our land. So, that's quite a frivolous thing, but it shows, what the infrastructure is like relative to other areas. And the other thing I like to say is all our land is royalty free. We don't have any royalties, and we own all the land outright. We own the patents, and we don't lease any land except for one of our other properties 50 miles down the road in Beardmore. I think we're in an ideal area for gold as expansion, and between the 1930s and 60s, about 3 million ounces was mined in the Geraldton Gold Camp, and there's Hardrock, with their investment, has really demonstrated that there's an awful lot more to add to what was done between the 30s and 60s.
So, Adam, with the past mining that's happened in the area and the current interest that is in that Hardrock mine, my understanding is that the area that your company holds, Tombill, there hasn't been much exploration done here. Why has that been? Any insights here, please?
Yeah, the property was acquired by my family in about 1981 from Hudson Bay Mining and Smelting. It wasn't bought on a standalone basis. It was bought as part of a holding company where there were other assets in the pool, and those other assets took on more focus. And then, so we didn't do anything or allocate capital to exploration. And then To be honest with you, Premier Gold did when you and Downey assembled that from Barrick and other places with Tim Twomey, who's is very much involved as sort of our chief technical advisor. When they started to demonstrate gold from what was a zero resource on Hardrock to 6 million ounces inferred between 2008 and 2012, we obviously got a little more excited about what we could do with Tombill. And then you couple that with what's happened to the gold price and the fact that we ourselves needed some quality people to help us do this. We decided now was the opportune time to devote resources. We had an idea what was needed in terms of depth and what could maybe be done on the surface, but really nothing has been done on this property until January 10th when we started drilling our first hole this year. So it really was the gold price and what our neighbor achieved that really motivated us.
Well, let's talk about the exploration then, because I went through the presentation and I understand that the company is looking pretty deep with a lot of your drill holes. The first overall program is 15 holes, 16,000 meters. Please just share with us the overall goals and strategy of this initial program.
Yeah, I mean, you're right with that. I mean, our exploration program is two-dimensional. With regards to what you're referring to, the deep drilling, it really is. We have two people on our team who were very important and indeed managed the Hardrock exploration program from 2008 to 2016 between them. That was, as I said, Tim Twomey from 2008 to 2012 and Ben Cleland, who worked for him from 2012 to 2016. So what we're really doing is just continuing what having done on our neighbor's property. You can see from various diagrams from our neighbor that the plunge is very consistent and it goes across at depth onto our property. So that's why we've done the deep drilling program, and we feel like the biggest zone on our neighboring property is the F zone, both in terms of it's strongest in terms of grade and it's the largest in terms of volume amongst the 17 zones that they have discovered. So we're just really continuing what they would have done if their drill program continued over onto our boundary, or there wasn't a boundary there. So that's the one element, and we have to do that to find the resource. And by the drilling we've done, we've demonstrated that we're seeing the resource at the levels we expected. But we're spending a lot of time also. We've had some good magnetic studies, and we've had good sampling of resources. We're from mid-teen grams per ton level to mid-20 grams per ton level, which indicates to us that we should also spend some time in the surface areas and shallow drilling. So we're doing that really on the whole northern part of the Tombill main group, just like north of the Trans-Canada Highway, up to our borders and to the northeast corner where the Talmora mine once was in production.
Okay, so I guess the near-term target being that down plunge from that Hardrock deposit, but you're also seeing other exploration potential around the project. Any general time frame of when some of these other targets, maybe up in the northern part of the project, might be ready to put a drill on?
Ready to put a drill on, we could do that now because we're coming out of winter. We'll probably see drills going in there in early August. That's our plan. And there'll be probably around 8 holes to drill, and the relative to what we're drilling right now, quite shallow, about 300 meters in depth on average.
Okay, so again, this is an exploration play here, focused in a good jurisdiction, especially beside that Hardrock mine. Now, let's talk a little bit about management here. Adam, give us a little background on yourself first, please.
Yeah, I come from finance background. I was my career, a large part of it was investment banking for large sort of global investment banks like Morgan Stanley and Credit Suisse First Boston, doing M&A, capital markets, corporate finance. Then I had an asset management firm called Cowen Partners, and we had about close to $2 billion assets under management, and doing distress amongst other things. But I've decided to devote a lot of my time to make sure this project, realizes its potential and strengthens, strengthens the whole Geraldton camp. Complementing or adding to me and our other good team members, and that is, we have John Alexander, who's our CFO, comes from a public market background. I've mentioned Tim and Ben. We also have Elizabeth Vida, who's full-time exploration manager on site up there. And then we have another gentleman called Retta Jalabi, who's corporate development and IR, comes from JP Morgan, ex-investment banker. Then I think our advisory board is very strong from two perspectives. They're high quality. You mentioned Quinton. Quinton also owns through Crescat, or obviously not himself, but to that vehicle that he works with. They owns roughly more than 6% of the business, which they bought after we went public. So they're very much involved. We have Gordon Reed, who did buy, did get ownership in the company through by buying in the public offering, and he's the ex-chief operating officer of Centerra, which at one point owned Hardrock, really up to December last year, and he was very much involved with budgeting and allocation of capital there. So he's got a great operational management skill set. And then another person is Ian Stalker, who also is quite a big shareholder, who was the ex-CEO of K92. So I think we have a strong enough team to deal with the task at hand currently, our phase one drilling program, and then when we go to phase two.
Okay, let's also talk quickly share structure here. 153 million shares outstanding, 201 million on a fully diluted basis. There is this warrant overhang of about 39 million warrants, average price of 24 cents. Take us through some of the largest shareholders, please. Anybody that you can share with us, or any strategics?
Yeah, obviously we discussed Crescat. My family has 51%. We have other insiders who like ourselves are locked up over 3 years by varying degrees with a few releases as and when, over time. And we have, I don't want to go on the specific names, but we have, I think, pretty strong institutional names, which come from obviously Canada, but also Australia in quite good size. So of which, close to 7%, close to 6% is Crescat. So they'd represent the remainder of that ownership. But they're good, solid names, people who do their work, their homework, and can assess value and risk.
Okay, final comments then. Cash in the bank. Please share with us the cash in the bank to take you through, assuming that drill program, and then also break down news flow. What can investors expect in terms of near-term news flow out of the company, please?
Yeah, now and then you can see it in our last press release. It was a little more complicated than we thought to locate that zone in the same way as it exists on our neighboring property. With cross defaults and a few dikes we had to deal with and so forth. But I think we sort of got it in play, and we hope to, the bottom line is people want to see how, that zone that we've mapped out, move down from our border, or now we're 250 meters from our border. And we think the plunge will go at least to 2.6 kilometers. So they want to see evidence that type of grade and that type of volume exists as we go down that strike line. So we'll be providing news flow as and when we get information. We've got currently 2 drills in place, and to finish the phase 1 16,000 meters, we will have, I think, about around $3 million left after we finish that program. So, and then I think that I know then surface drilling is probably another $600,000. So about $2.4 million at the end of all this current exploration programs. But phase two, which is being mapped out with all our investors are present and in our presentation that you have. We probably drill another 60 holes to get to around 72,000 meters in total to prove that out for an inferred resource, and that consists of basically a main hole with two daughters off each of them. The main holes go down about 1,200 meters, and the daughters start about 400 meters and are wedged off that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for this update and more introduction. We're going to follow up as more news hits the market. We also have a webinar scheduled for next week, which I will link below to, where you can sign up and register for free for that webinar, where we're going to dive a bit more into the presentation with some supporting images and maps. If anybody has any follow-up questions, please email me, fleck@kereport.com, and I will get those questions answered for you. Adam, thank you again for your time. We'll chat again soon.
Thank you, Corey.